Hi, I'm Bebe.
And I'm Stephen.
And we are
Just Another Knitting Podcast.
We're back. We're
Yay.
back in Christchurch after our travels. If you're just joining us for the first time today, we've been traveling for the last month. We went literally around the world and back again in the last month. So we're going to start by talking a little bit about that and then do our usual podcast. So if you're not interested in what we've been doing in the last month, then we will not be offended if you skip through this part, but we just wanted to spend a little bit of time kind of rounding up what we've done, because when the last episode, and do feel free to go back and watch it, we were at Rhinebeck, but we hadn't been to New York Sheep and Wool yet, so we'll start there.
So we won't re-go over what we did in Shetland, perhaps too much, but
Not too much gushing about our awesome time there.
no, but from New York forward, I think.
Yeah. So New York Sheep and Wool, where do we start?
Arriving?
Yeah.
New York?
So we arrived in Rhinebeck a couple of days early, and that's when we filmed our last episode. And the weekend started really well with us bumping into the grocery girls in one of the local knick-knack shops and me almost dying of overjoyed horror.
It was a complete fangirl moment.
Yeah. I mean, Andrew Murray was amazing, and we saw lots of people that I consider knitting famous, but the grocery girls were just like, they're amazing. And probably we started podcasting because I love them so much. And well, that's not the only reason, but it's one of them. And I really love what they do. I love what they stand for. And so, it was a total fangirl moment for me to meet them.
And they were just so nice too.
Yeah, they were real people, guys.
Yeah.
Oh, who knew?
I know, right?
Yeah.
But no, it was wonderful.
Yeah. So that was the Thursday night. And then the Friday, we just had such a chill day. We just did not much of anything. And that's when we filmed the episode. So we went and did some laundry and had a bit of a wander around and just kind of soaked in the vibe of...
Met a local or two.
Yeah, it was really nice, actually. I didn't realise, but I realised afterwards that there are actually other events going on. So there was another event going on that day. So there was Cake Palooza and then...
Indie something.
Yeah, whatever the other event was, you guys probably know better than we do.
Yeah, we're a bit noobs when it comes to Rhinebeck, unfortunately, but we'll know better for next time.
Yeah, exactly. And then on the Friday, our friend that we had met in Shetland, Mary, texted me. She lives in Kingston, to say to kind of arrange what we were doing on the Saturday. So it was so kind of her to come by and pick us up. So on the Saturday morning, we were eating breakfast actually very early, and she swung by to come and get us. So we arrived very early.
Yeah, it was about 8:30, I think, or
8 o'clock. Yeah. And kind of got pole position in the parking area. It's a massive showgrounds, and so big parking, like you park on the grass. And we were amongst the first ones there.
Yeah, I think we had some B-roll in our last episode. You would have sort of seen the car parks and how empty it was when we got there. And it was a beautiful day too.
Oh, stunning. Like it was a bit miserable last year by the sounds of it, but we really lucked out with the weather, like we did everywhere. I feel like the weather god smiled on us the whole time we were away.
Certainly did.
Yeah. So stunner of a day. And I think people didn't start sort of showing up until like 10 a.m. around or 11 a.m. because when we got there, I think people realised that it's really busy early, because when we got there and lined up, there weren't that many people there. Yeah. And when we went in, there weren't that many people
we got through almost all of the vendor sheds sort of unobstructed for the most part.
Yeah.
It was real comfortable the first hour or so, and then sort of around 10 o'clock it started to fill up. And,
and then peaked around lunchtime.
Yeah, and then it got really busy, and it was kind of like shuffle room only through the sheds. But
we'd already done one pass. So my strategy was to do a pass through all the vendor area when it was still pretty quiet, and then just kind of ruminate on it for a while, because it's so overwhelming. Like, I get overwhelmed by yarn very quickly, and I was overwhelmed by yarn very quickly. There's just so much to see.
There was a lot of yarn.
There was a lot of yarn, guys. Like a lot of everything.
New York has a lot of of yarn producers and yarn dyers.
So impressive.
Very impressive.
So I kind of just soaked it all in, and I think you did as well, and went and saw the sheep and the llamas and did all that. And then by kind of 11:30, I was tapped out at that point, like well overwhelmed by yarn and people and everything happening. And so then I went and found the hill. Took me a while to figure out what the hill was, but I found it.
That was a journey, yeah.
I was relying on Andrea Mary's description of how you go in and how you find it. So she did great. I found it from that. From her last podcast. Went in, and basically just went and sat down on the hill and watched the world go by.
Yeah, I joined you after a wee while, and it really was nice. I mean, sitting in the sun, we found a seat up the top, got a good view of everybody, and really we spent about, 2 hours jersey watching.
Yeah, just watching all of the fashion go past us.
Yeah, it was a good game. It was like, name that pattern.
Yeah.
And surprisingly, not easy, but
there was a lot of
we did
favourites.
There's a lot of things that we recognised, which was awesome.
It was really good to see things that I've knit, that other people knit, and also things that I want to knit, to see them in person, which is also really good. So I took some sneaky pictures of people's garments, and like, oh yeah, I want to knit this. This is what it looks like. And also podcaster spotting. So we saw some of our faves, which was really exciting.
Yep.
And we had that on the at the end of the last podcast. So like Maxim and Vincent, and we saw Amy from La Biana May, and we saw Andrea Mary obviously, and the Grocery Girls, and
Needles at the
Ready, and Vincent, whose last name escapes me. So many cool people, and then it was really good. So when it got closer to the time that Andrea Mary said that she was going to be on the hill, which was 2:00, it started filling up with framed sweaters and framed cowls, which was like mind-blowing. Like there was a sea of framed sweaters.
There were a lot.
I've never seen so many of one jumper in my life. Like mind-blowing. And you kind of have this sense of, it was a bit like when we were in Shetland with the hat, of being part of something that's bigger than you. Like it was just such a good feeling. That's probably what it feels like to be in a cult, but it's not a cult because we can leave anytime we want.
Yeah, you can put those needles down.
Yeah, we do it by choice. But yeah, such a big, vast, different group of people, like so different, yet all there. Having sat in our houses and beavered away on this little thing. I just found that really amazing. So Andrea turned up at 2:00, and it was total chaos, and we thought she would be down the bottom of the hill, and so I was sitting right up the back, and I said Stephen down the front, so I was like, oh, can you get some B-roll for our podcast, and I'll just sit up the back and just watch it happen, because honestly I was well over crowds by then, and I just wanted to chill and just kind of watch. And then she came storming up the back, and she was like right there, she was standing beside me. I was just like, hi. So that was pretty awesome. And then she jumped up on the benches that we were sitting on and kind of addressed the crowd, and everyone was like, oh, hello, Andrea.
And then the photos began.
Yeah, and then they took a group photo, and I was right up the back for that, so you wouldn't have been able to see me. But then she stayed so long to make sure that everybody got individual photos with her. And at that point, that was a good time to then go back to the sheds and do some yarn purchasing,
emptied out a wee bit
while everyone was distracted and busy. So actually we went and got us food, and then sat down in the shade for a little while because it had been really warm. Caught up with Mary again, and then we went back to the sheds, and then we did some actual purchasing. So should we talk about that?
What did you purchase?
I'll start by just talking about where do I start? Okay, so Mary had said the place to go is Miss Babs. So I started there. I made a beeline for Miss Babs, and I got this little gem. So this is called Hot to Trot, and it's by Miss Babs, and it is glitter yarn. This is right in my wheelhouse as yarn goes.
Very pink.
Yep, very pink. So it's fingering weight yarn, 92% superwash merino, and 8% lurex, which is, I assume, what the flecks of sparkle are, and 365 meters. So with this, I was thinking I will either make a Tolster by Rebecca Clow or the one by let's just leave it there because I can't remember the other one.
Fair enough. A Tolster. It sounds like it's going to be a Tolster.
I think
anyway,
I'm going to make a Tolster, yeah. And then, shall I keep going with mine?
You may as well. I've just got one, so, you know. I was very restrained.
And then also from Miss Babs, this was her Rhinebeck colourway. Beautiful. It reads more spring than autumn to me, but it's... this is called Tarte, and it's also fingering weight yarn, and this is 75% superwash merino and 15% nylon, 10% tencel. So I thought I might... It's either sock yarn, but I kind of feel like it's too pretty to waste on socks.
So what will you make with it?
Either a shawl, or I'm actually thinking of making a Musselburgh, because I really wanted to make a Musselburgh hat while I was away, and I didn't. And so I think I will knit. I mean, I think it'll look really good on my head.
Fingering, is it?
Yes.
So Musselburgh is a fingering pattern.
It's anything you want it to be.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's
Nice.
the beauty of the Musselburgh. So basically you cast it on, you do the beginning, and then you do a gauge based on what you've cast on, and then that's how you know how to do the increases and how long to knit it.
Okay, cool.
I don't
didn't
own
know
it.
that.
I haven't read the pattern, but I've been assured by anyone that you can knit it. And our friend Mary is knitting one at the moment, and so she can guide me through the process if I get confused with it. Anyway, so that. Sorry, I'm still recovering from the trip. And then I also got, and I'll let Stephen talk next because
same place.
I got this at the same place. He's got his one thing. So this is a sock ball, and I have the tag here. It's called Scrumptious Pearl Yarn. It's it there, and that's the info about it. Oh no, it's not going to show, sorry. It's 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon, and it's 365 meters. So this is just your plain old sock yarn. So I'm making a pair of socks. We'll cover that off in whips. So that was the yarn. That was the only yarn we bought. We were overwhelmed by choice. And I took some pictures and I took some notes about things I might want to go back and have another look at. But I think the fact that we were kind of on our way home, and we both had pretty full packs. Like I had almost 4 jumpers by that point.
I did just add a giant thing to my pack, so...
Yeah, yes. So we kind of stopped there. And do you want to talk about what you got?
Sure. Okay, so when Bebe was buying her stock yarn, we didn't say what vendor area it was from. It was actually from the Thread and Maple shop. So I may have gone and purchased myself one of their jumbo holders and a few other bits and pieces. So
I had been to the Thread and Maple shop earlier in the day and had a good scout out. And I wasn't interested for myself, but I knew Stephen might be interested, so I dragged him back later in the day.
So yeah, I managed to pick up a few pages, but like I say, my needle knitting life needs a bit of organisation, so I figured
let me hold it and then you can talk about it.
This is pretty much the answer to that, and then some. So yeah, basically...
So if you don't understand Thread and Maple, let's just start with... it's a Canadian company, and what they do is they make...
the folios.
The folio.
With custom pages that you can basically mix and match various things. And I've got loads of pouches and stuff that you can put things in. And so really organise your knitting life. And then if you're on the go, you can actually unclip the pages and then just take them...
Turn a big folio into a little folio.
Yeah, and take them on the go. So really, that's a bit of a solution for a number of problems I've been having lately with multiple project bags and various other things. So I couldn't resist. It's all leather.
And so it's mix and match. So basically what you do, hang on, I'll just put this back together, is that you decide what you want. So they have different pages for different things. So this page is a needle page. And this thing here that Stephen removed before, that is specific to the type of needle. So
Knit Pros.
So that one is for zings. And you can get Knit Pro Mindfuls, you can get them from Chiago. All of the different needle types have different ones of these little inserts. And so basically you buy the page and then you buy the leather insert and then you put them together. And you can buy different kinds of pages. So that was the needle page. And then here is a cable page.
Yeah, cable holders.
So it has
like the Rolodex of cables. So I've filled all my cables in here. Yep. And I've got DPNs stashed at the back. I've got a notions page. So we've got notions, tape measures and things. Needles. And then DPNs at the back. So at the moment I probably need another couple of pages because I still have a couple of needle sets that are not able to be put in there. But
there's a page that's for a project. So it's designed for having, like, it has a couple of little needle slots so you can put the needles that you're using and the cables that you're using for our project and all of the notions that you need for a single project, and then that can go into your project bag. I think that would be a really good one.
Yeah. So needless to say, I was quite excited. I did have to carry all this back in my hand luggage.
It's quite heavy.
But it was worth it.
Stephen's luggage went to lighter than mine to much more heavy than mine.
Yeah. So anyway, that was my purchases in Rhinebeck. No yarn, but I was happy.
And then in addition to that, I got some little notions bags, a couple of little notions bags. So I got this one, and this is by Red Stagger Wing. And I'll link in the show notes to the products. But I wanted a couple of little pouches, and I got this one. I got another one that I gifted already to Emily. And then I went to, you didn't know that I gifted it to Emily, but I did. Went to Katrinkles, which is quite a well-known notions maker, and I got some of these. What are they called? Washable tags. So cute little tags. I use tags for all my garments so you can tell which is the back and which is the front. And then I got these other little tags from Cardinal Woodwork. So these are removable tags. They're good for hats and stuff. And then I also got some other little ones. Same kind of deal, and they're from Cottontail Farm, and they do notions. And so we didn't really get all that much stuff. I was disappointed with us, really.
Okay. I think there's lots of stuff, not much yarn.
And did we get that there as well?
Yes, you did.
Yeah, this is really funny. So in my defence, I was left unsupervised at a yarn store. Stephen actually got this for me. On the Friday, I was sitting in the room and going, what I really want is an abacus, because I was kind of counting stitches with just pen and paper, as we all do. And I'm like, I wish I just had a little abacus that I could just count on. And so this has got a removable magnetic cover, and it's a stitch counter. So it's got a little bead with a elastic. Oh shit, I was stitch counting there. I think I'm up to number 1. And it has ones, tens and hundreds, and you can use it to count. And I've been using it on the project I'm going to talk about shortly, and it's so good. And then when you're finished for the day, you put the cover on and it's protected. I could use a little clicker stitch counter, but I really love this. It's like it's cute and
Tactile.
it works for me. Like it works in my brain, how my brain works. So I was really happy that Stephen found that for me just when it was exactly what I was looking for. And I can't remember the booth that was in.
No, it was just a
random little booth.
I
tried to make a note of them all, but not that one. And then, as well as that, we met up with some of you who watched the show. So
Yes.
glad to...
That was a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming and saying hello. And so we met with Kat and Mona, who didn't see Stephen, but were looking for Stephen. And sorry you didn't get to see Stephen.
No.
Kat.
Sounds like we just missed.
Yeah, he was hiding from you. No, he wasn't. But and then we also met Jenny and Jill. Now, Jenny and Jill were wearing beautiful sweaters from Marie Wallin, which I recognised straight away. And that from her latest book, Aaron. I'm going to talk about my whip from that book also shortly. And they very kindly gifted me this lavender pillow, but beautiful, and it made my luggage smell divine all the way home. So thank you so much for that, and some cookies that Stephen ate.
Yeah, they were great.
Yeah. And also Noelle from Knits and Pieces, the Knits and Pieces podcast, she came up to us and I recognised her, but I didn't connect who she was. And as soon as she walked away, I was like, oh my God, that's Noelle. Because I started watching her podcast when she came to New Zealand, and she mentioned that she had been here. And she came to our local yarn store. She came to Outlaw Yarn when she was here. And so a few of us watched her podcast at that point, and I have been watching her ever since. So, and I was so overwhelmed I connected it immediately afterwards. So hello Noelle, if you're watching, and thank you so much for the cards. They're so adorable. So she gave me these little cards. They're really funny. So this one says, they're knitting in jokes. Miserina loves company. So that's from the Miserina, which is a pattern. Just a couple of hipsters, the hipster shawl. Have a great weekend, so it's a weekender, and sending you a little love note. That's so cute, and they'll be perfect for my yarny friends, because honestly they're the only ones who are going to get the joke, but these will make great gift cards or birthday cards for my yarny friends. So thank you so much for that gift. Yeah, awesome. All right, so Stephen's trying to keep us on track. That was the end of the purchases. So from what?
Nothing.
From Rhinebeck. So we spent the day there. We went home at 5:00. We went back to Kingston, and then we kind of just made the long journey home from then. So we went Kingston back to New York and then back to the airport in New York, and then it turned out only to be a 16-hour flight home, half of which I actually slept on, which was great. So, and honestly, I've never been on a flight before in my life where I've been like, could have had a little bit more time to do some more knitting, because I slept most of it. And that was the benefit of having a lie down bed on the way home for that trip. We each had that, which was a luxury for us, but very much appreciated having that. So we kind of arrived home fresh, which was nice, and then we've just been recovering since then.
Yep, nearly back on the right time.
Yeah, finally this morning I slept all the way through the night.
Yep.
So we thought we'd do a quick bit of a kind of a trip roundup, what we liked, what our highlights were, and then get into the regular show.
Yeah. So I guess the highlight for me, in terms of a month away and seeing a lot of things in a lot of places, would have been, I guess, in the Shetland Wool Week, the drop-in centre, and meeting James, and then that afternoon that James, and Mary of course, but yeah, we took the trip with James up to Oliberry and the viewing of the heritage lace and the Hall tea, and then he gave us a bit of a tour around with some local knowledge. And yeah, it was just a fabulous afternoon in a wonderful place with good people.
Yeah.
And I really, really enjoyed that. And for me, that would probably be my trip highlight, I think.
Yeah.
Even above perhaps some of the sort of the castle-y, historic Pontiventi type things, which were
Oh my
fairly
gosh.
impressive as well. So
I think for me, my highlights was seeing the standing stones at Orkney, which, you know, I had some weird obsessions as a child, and archaeology was one of them, and so I was very into that kind of stuff, and just to be there in person and see those. And we kind of went later in the day, so it was kind of that golden hour, like the sun was going down, beautiful. Yeah, that's kind of etched in my memory, seeing the ring of Brodgar.
yeah, and golden hour, yeah, that was
Yeah,
nice.
absolutely stunning. And then the other for me was actually probably sitting on the hill at Rhinebeck and seeing some of my knitting heroes and seeing all of the amazing knitwear and just listening to all of the talking and seeing people meeting up and admiring each other, and just that the vibe of us all being there because we're all knitters. And yeah, I really loved that. And upstate New York in general was beautiful, and I'd be definitely keen to go back again.
Yeah, it was with the leaf changing of colours was in full flight. So
Yeah.
there were greens, yellows, oranges, all of the things that you kind of read about. It was all there before us. So
And so
fantastic.
Shetland and Rhinebeck were probably not on our list of things to do at the beginning when we were planning our trip. And
No.
because we were like, oh, why don't we go to a yarn festival? Suddenly they were two of the things that we were going to do, and both things that were our highlights. Otherwise, we would have seen a lot of castles and done a lot of things, which we did anyway. But yeah, they were definitely the highlights.
Yeah. So what next?
Yeah, so we've been talking about whether or not we go back. Do you think you'd go back to Shetland,
I'd definitely go back to Shetland.
to Warwick again?
Yep, absolutely. Maybe not next year, but
Yeah.
definitely it's a long way to go, but it was definitely worth it. And I think having been to both yarn festivals now, we've got a much better knowledge of how they work.
Yeah.
They're both quite different.
Yeah.
And so we can actually use that knowledge next time and plan a much more comprehensive trip.
I'd probably go to classes this time.
Yeah, well, like I said, I think a couple of times ago, it's a long way to go sit in a classroom for a day
Yeah.
when you've not been somewhere before.
Yeah.
So now that we've had the opportunity to visit and see the sites, we would have much more time up our sleeves to go and
Like
spend
a lace knitting
doing
class.
the yarny things. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would definitely, give me a couple more years of practice with heritage lace knitting. And then I might be fit to go to a class on how to actually do it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd be keen to go back again too.
So yeah, in the future, absolutely.
And the thing is, it's a long way to go for us, but once you're over the hump of going to the other side of the world, it's a lot closer than you think. Like if you live in the UK, it's not that hard to get to. You can fly to Shetland. I mean, it's no different than flying anywhere else, in Europe. It's easier, in fact. And we have been talking about whether we might go back to Rhinebeck, and I'm very keen. But I was listening to Nitty Natty, who's a podcaster, and she was saying her tip was maybe don't go to Rhinebeck more than once, because once you've had the experience, do you need to go again? She kind of got me thinking about it, because coming back, I'm like, I just want to go again because that was really amazing. But it did make me kind of look at what other yarn festivals are in the United States, because the things that I enjoyed about it were going somewhere different, going somewhere that was out of the way for us, somewhere that we would never normally go. I really enjoyed the Amtrak, just being in a small town, and so it got me starting to think about what other yarn festivals there are in the United States that might be a bit easier for us to get to, so on the other coast. And I remember the flock fibre festivals in like August, so we thought, I was thinking, I haven't really run this past even, that maybe that might be one that we could go to, but we're really interested in your suggestions. Like, what are your fibre festivals that you think either I'd really love to go to one, or one that you've been to that you would recommend? There's one in Portland, which I think is this weekend, or next weekend. It's coming up soon. which is another one, but it's probably not a great time of the year for us, but August is probably better. Yeah. Anyway, so what are your suggestions?
Any hidden gems out there?
Yeah, what would you have us go to? Because, have passport will travel, and I think we are keen to go somewhere next year, maybe we're definitely not keen to go to the UK, but somewhere that's maybe a couple of weeks that we can take out. Yeah. Take off work and go somewhere.
So build the holidays up again.
Probably somewhere in the United States would be awesome. So if you have some suggestions, we're keen to hear them.
Let us know.
Okay, right. So half an hour later, we're into the regular episode. Sorry, everyone.
On to the knitting.
Let's start with what we're wearing.
Yeah, what are you wearing, Bebe?
So I'm wearing my Ilha, which is by Orlane Sucche. So I was knitting this while we were away. And I got it finished just when we got home. I played some mad yarn chicken on this jumper. I'll start with I'll just start with a bit of information about it. I wrote notes.
How many skeins did you have?
So it's knit in a 4-ply. Yep. It's called James.
So I think you've seen this already as an acquisition. You saw the skeins.
So I'd got two skeins of this. It's hand dyed in Hamburg. The colorway is called Lake Night, and honestly it's the most beautiful color. Hang on, if I go this way, it's like a blue black and it's 50% BFL, 50% fine Maxim, so it's a bit toothy, but it's still like I'm wearing this against my skin. I'm just wearing a camisole underneath, and it's fine for me. I think a lot of people would find it scratchy, but I don't find yarn scratchy. So I had 900 meters of it. And I was knitting in a 4mm needle, and I was pushing it, and I kind of thought at the start, I'll just make it as a t-shirt, it'll be fine. I knit the size 3, so for me the size 3 had it probably had about 5 centimeters of positive ease, maybe 10. I did a bit of careful blocking to make it a bit to make it fit nicely, but it also is quite short, so I was worried that I was going to run out of yarn to actually get it to cover my belly button, but it does cover my belly button, and I got long sleeves, so I got everything I needed. But basically what I did is I knit down to where I knit the first ball, and I had got down to past sleeve separation, and I was like, well, I've got to knit 2 sleeves and the rest of the body just on this extra 450 meters, so I was a bit worried that I wasn't going to be able to finish it. So I then knit a sleeve to find out how much yarn one sleeve would use, and it was 1/3 of a ball, so I was like, well, okay. So then I knit the collar, because I was like, well, let's just get that out of the way so I know how much yarn I have left. And then I basically set the other sleeve ball for the other sleeve aside. So I was like, okay, I need 35 grams for the other sleeve, so I knew I'd have enough. And then I knit the rest of the body. So at that point I'd knit body, sleeve, collar, and then the rest of the body, and then I knit to the bottom and then put those on hold. I'd put the sleeve on hold as well when I'd knit it all the way down, and then knit the other sleeve. And having done all of that, I ended up with that much.
So you could have got another couple of rounds.
Ta-da! Yeah, so I could still use this up, but I'm not going to. I could probably get another few rounds on the body. But I thought that was pretty good yarn chicken.
Not bad.
I was pretty worried that I wasn't going to make it, but I did just. And I absolutely love it. It's very much will be a staple in my wardrobe, I think, just because it's good with... it sits nicely on my waist, so it's good with high-waisted pants, which I wear a lot, or with dresses that I wear in the summer, and it's very lightweight. So for me, it's a summer weight garment, and we're coming into summer now, so I think it'll be in high rotation for me.
Awesome. All right. So
what are you wearing,
What
Stephen?
am I wearing? Well, I'm wearing the So Basic sweater by Maxim. There's... basically it's a raglan sweater and fingering weight. I knit it in Wild Earth Yarns Aspen 4-ply in the colour cherry. It was a yarn I hadn't used before. It's Wallin spun. It was knit on 3.25mm needles.
Oof, that's a lot of knitting.
It's not a super complicated pattern. It's
it's
got
called
a
So Basic. So
yeah, it's got a nice sleeve detail. So it's like a 9x1 rib on the sleeves, and then it's just straight stockinette on the body. Everything that's not right with this jersey is entirely my own fault.
Tell us more.
I wear it every day. I love it. It feels just like wearing a sweatshirt. I would absolutely knit it again, and I probably will once I can steel myself for all the stockinette. However, yeah, this is a lesson in you should do a gauge swatch when you are using a new yarn that you've not used before. I kind of did the gauge swatch on the basis of I just measured the stockinette in the body, and I was like, no worries. But what I didn't do is I never blocked it. And the Aspen really relaxes way more than any other yarn I'd ever used before. So
Because you haven't really knit with superwash.
No.
Superwash relaxes.
It was a real surprise. So basically the thing just like grew by inches. So the neckline itself almost turned into an off the collar number on each side.
A bit more like this.
Yeah, in fact, probably about as wide as what Bebe's is, but maybe even a little more. So horrified, I was actually ready to frog the whole thing. So instead of doing that, what I did was I undertook some impromptu ad hoc sweater surgery. It's a top down raglan, so I basically cut out the collar, picked it up and reknit the collar. I took 20 stitches out of the collar to try and get it to a reasonable width, and now I'm much happier with the...
You did knit a very large size, so I have to say, like, it's quite a roomy fit anyway.
Oh, it's definitely, and I mean, it grew massively width-wise.
You could have gone down a size or two.
Oh, absolutely. I could have. The other thing I did was I also cut about 3 inches out of the bottom, so I didn't even bother...
Unnecessary knitting.
I know, 3.25 mil needles with 4-ply. It was a little heartbreaking, so I cut out all the ribbing, I cut out a good chunk of stockinette, and then basically re-picked it up and did the rib again. Also did some fairly intensive decreases before I started the ribbing, so I think I decreased away something like 50 stitches from the bottom, so it's very balloony just as it cuts into the ribbing.
But that looks quite nice. It has that sweatshirty vibe, and that's kind of the sweatshirty vibe is to cut in.
So I'm not mad about it. The end result is good. I wear it to work pretty much every other day. It's a staple in my wardrobe. It's super comfy. It's lightweight.
And who's the designer?
Max the knitter.
Yeah.
Maxim Sear. Yeah. It's really good. Like I say, all the problems with it are my own fault. So, lessons learned.
And I have to say, like, I don't like to say I told you so, but when you tasked this on, I did say, and I have said it every time since, that my number one trick for a top-down raglan is, regardless of what the pattern says, cast on using a long tail, cast on, and start knitting the body, unless there's a reason not to. Like, if there's something that you need to do that moves from the collar into the yoke, then come back and knit the collar last, because you can fix quite a lot of fit issues by making sure it fits nicely around the top of the neck, one way or the other. And I've done that over and over again. Pretty much every single garment. Like this one here was sitting very much out here, and I did a rapid decrease row that wasn't in the pattern to make sure that I'm happy with how this sits around here, and I do it every single time.
Yeah, I do have a funny story about that, but I'll save that for another day. But when I did follow your advice...
Oh God, okay, yeah. We'll worry about that later. We're running long. This could take a while.
Yeah, so we'll save that story for another day.
I mean, following my advice actually means following my advice. Anyway, let's keep going on.
Finished objects? Got any more?
Well, this is it.
All right, I have one more.
Oh, yeah.
So, the other glove.
Ta-da!
So, the Briodag glove. Last time we showed one. Now there's 2.
Yay!
All finished. Very happy with them. I've got to say, knitting magic loop fingers isn't my favourite. I did struggle a little bit with pickups between the fingers, particularly in the dark yarn. There's like one or two stitches that you need to pick up as you knit across the gap to create the next finger.
Right.
I did find a method or invent a method. I'm sure it's a thing, but before I actually started on the fingers, I actually found the stitches I was going to pick up and put a stitch marker through each one. So it was just 2 stitch markers, but doing so actually made picking the stitches up much easier. A, I could see them, and then B, I could actually hang on to the stitch marker to manipulate the stitch as I was picking it up. So it's a wee trick I'm going to use. Yeah, and there's even a matching hat that goes with it.
So cute! Look at me!
So there we go. So it's the Briodag set sans scarf. I don't think we'll be knitting the scarf, but the hat and gloves are done.
And perfect, just for this weather. So if you're in the northern hemisphere, you probably don't realise, but in the southern hemisphere, it's getting very warm. I think we're both probably a little bit
warm at the moment
right now.
Yep.
It's not really sweater weather or hat and glove weather.
Thank you.
But that's okay. They're not going to go off. They'll last till next winter.
Yep. So that's my finished objects.
Wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome. Put that in the glove basket.
Yeah, we have a basket of hats and gloves and scarves that I can just rifle through and grab something on my way out the door. So that's where that will go. Okay, so that we're a bit light on the whips. On the finished objects, but we do have what we wanted to do today was talk about whips, because we've both come back from being away and realised that actually we abandoned a bunch of stuff here that we now need to think about getting finished. So we're going to play a fun game of Frog It or Finish It. Who's going to start?
Well, I think I'll start because I've got the most, I think. But I'll start with
not by much.
I'll start with a very small thing, and it's not really a whip; it's a swatch. That's as far as I've got so far.
We count swatches as whips.
So it's knitting with intention. So this is the swatch. It's for the jersey Arwen by Megan Babin. I swatched it in Outlaw Nicks in the colour Shaded.
Which is a beautiful kind of... It looks grey, black, green.
Yeah,
it's
and
really
it's
nice.
Got silk in it as well. So it's quite sturdy.
It makes really nice cables.
Yeah, it's got good stitch definition. The reason I haven't really progressed with this one is I discovered when I was doing the swatch that there are a lot of cable crosses. And I just haven't really been in the mood for knitting cables just at the moment. But
I don't know what way up it goes.
I think it goes that way, yeah. So it will get on the needles at some point, hopefully before next winter. And yeah, that's my smallest whip.
Yeah, it kind of counts.
How about you?
Okay, so I will start with what I'm actually working on. So I had left this in a state where I wanted to come back and pick it up, but I didn't want to start the next section of it. So this is the Traveller Shell by Andrew Mowry. It's in a bit of a state at the moment because I'm just part way through the fronts and backs. So it's a cardigan. So I've done, this is like one whole section, and I'm just starting the other front panel. So the Traveller Shell, it's knit in Cecia Mistral, which is an Italian yarn. It's 100% fine merino, and it's really bouncy and stretchy. I really love this yarn. It's quite heavy, I would say. It's knit on a 3.5mm needle, and I just really struggle with the 10 row. It's a 10 row repeat to get this pattern. You do a 10 row repeat, and I struggle with being able to read the knitting, and so I have to count every row, and I just struggle with that. So having my little abacus row counter has really helped, and it's really made me power through this. So I'm kind of I'm determined to get this finished in the next week or so, because I just really want it off the needles, and I'm knitting it for my daughter and I really want her to be able to wear it. She's been waiting a long time for it, so I've promised her that I'll get it finished, and I am not allowed to knit on anything else until it's finished.
Alrighty, my turn. This one's not much further than the swatch. So it does have a swatch. You hold the swatch up. So this is
pretty.
This is the Easter sweater by Petite Knit. So I started on that. It's a number, a textured number. Yep. So this is about as far as I've got. It's really just the beginning of the back of the neck, if I was to flip it up. Really, it was timing on this. I put this down so that I could finish Troutbeck. So this is what I was really starting just before I was like, oh gosh, we're going to Shetland, I've got to finish Troutbeck. So I gave myself a couple of months to get Troutbeck done. And then I guess my appetite for textured knitting just has waned a little bit.
Yeah.
So this was being knit in Outlaw Nick's Prosopine colour. So
it's a really, really nice yarn. So it's the same yarn as you just showed.
it is. It's the same yarn as the shadowed that I'm going to do the Arwen in, but
which is really colour. Nice for texture.
Yeah, it's a DK weight yarn. I'll be
kind
knitting
of DK
on
worsted, I'd say.
Yeah,
it's a heavy
4mm needles. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's that whip.
Your whips are not really whips, are they?
Not yet. There's a
They're
bigger
like
one
cheating.
coming.
So this is my other whip that I've talked about this a few times, and this is like a millstone around my neck at this point. So I really, as soon as I've finished the Traveller's Shell, I intend to get this finished. So where I'm up to is I've just got to do the steeks. So it's got armhole steeks. And I think I've got to sew up I think the first thing you do is sew up the tops, and then do the steeks, and then do the arms. So I'm almost finished, but the steeks scared me. But after having talked to Hazel Tyndall and other people in Shetland, they're just like, get it done. It's not as scary as you think. So I'm just going to get the steek done. I think what's putting me off this one is that I'm not going to be able to wear it. It's very thick.
So low priority.
So this one is knit in... it's Marie Wallin, and it's called Seaton, and it's knit in her British Breeds Aran weight yarn. This is one of the colours, and it's a fine blend of wool spun in Devon from Blueface Leicester, Exmoor, Romney and Zwarbles sheep breeds. Yeah, it's a very nice yarn, and I would definitely consider knitting it again. Very beautiful yarn. But it is very thick because it's Aran weight yarn. And actually what they call Aran weight, we'd probably call worsted in New Zealand. But it's held double throughout. So, well, stranded colour work. So, yeah, like, I mean, good for Antarctica. Like,
well, yeah, okay, well, I'll see your Antarctica and call. My other more substantial whip is the OA by Kate Davies.
Yeah.
And it's knit in Outlaw.
We're just trying to be very careful of the microphone, which is right in front of us.
Bohemia worsted. And so this is effectively a worsted weight all over double with stranded colour work hoodie. So I've knit the body up to the sleeve separation, or the sleeve joining, sorry. So the next step obviously is to knit the sleeves. So I've got most of a sleeve knit here. I've got a little bit more to go. But it's currently sitting in the naughty corner just because I really can't envisage myself being so cold that I'm actually going to be able to wear this.
It's for me. It's for me.
It could be, but it's actually really oversized as well. So
I don't mind.
so you one
you
day
could just make sure that the neckline works okay.
Yeah, so this was my first all-over colour work project. It's very soft. It's very haloed.
So the Bohemia is
Possum
and merino?
Polworth.
Polworth. It is Polworth.
So it's very soft.
And New Zealand possum, which is a pest.
Very fluffy. Yeah. And it's a nice colour combo. I am little concerned that it's going to pill grey, I guess, or felt into a grey, but we'll see how that goes. But yeah, no, that's the OA. It'll get finished one day.
So not frog it?
Not frog it. No, one day I'll get there. It's my oldest whip.
And frogging that would ruin the yarn, so you might as well just throw it out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you can't get the yarn anymore, and there's not quite enough for a juicy lot of either.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. And then my other whip is the small fry, which I was very close to frogging this before we went away. So this is a shawl. And I picked it up and I'm like, I'm just going to pull the needles off this and frog it. And then I was like, no, but I really like it and I really want it. So I didn't. And I was like, I'll just park it and see what happens. So this is a small fry by Samantha Guerin. And this is knit on, it says 3.25mm needles, but I think I'm knitting it on 3.5s. And this is Kashgora, so by the Kashmir People Yarn. I'll put some information about the yarn in the show notes because it's from Tajikistan, and it's like a collective of yarn spinners, and they spin the yarn and then they make it available for sale, and it's kind of provides a living wage to people who otherwise wouldn't, but women who otherwise wouldn't have a living wage. And so I really love the yarn. Kashgora is beautiful. It'll make a really nice shawl, but yeah, I just have to knuckle down and do it. I found the stitch pattern again quite challenging. I found it hard to read the knitting, and it's a written pattern. It's not charted, so you have to read every single line. So the pattern's about 50 pages. It's not, but it's quite a long pattern. But I think I really want the product, so I'm not gonna frog this. I'm just gonna put it aside until I'm ready to knit it.
Okay, I have another small one. This is also knit in Outlaw Bohemia, Bohemia worsted.
It's Carnival, the colour Carnival.
Carnival, okay. There we go. Anyway, enough about the yarn. This is the beginnings and probably the end of a scarf.
Wow, that's a very old one.
Yeah, it's basically knit from the time where I started to learn how to knit. The name of the pattern for the scarf is Ski Lift Scarf, and it's by the Sockmatician.
Oh, yeah.
Who also wrote the book and the patterns in this book, Guys Knit. And basically, I got this book right at the beginning from when I started to learn how to knit. And actually, I was just flicking through and I was like, I really need to read this again. Because actually, it's an excellent technical manual on all different sorts of stitches, decreases, increases. It's kind of like all of those YouTube how-to tutorial videos, just in one simple place. And I don't think it will necessarily teach me a lot of things, but what it will do now is it will show me the gaps, I think. So it's actually a really good book.
And we all have gaps. Like, we're both fairly new to knitting and we have lots of gaps. But even, I can imagine in 20 years' time, there's always new techniques and learning new ways to do things.
Yeah, well, I was just browsing it and there's things like left and right leaning stacked double decreases, which I hadn't even thought about. So normally I just normally do whatever the pattern says, but yeah, I mean, it's just lots of little things like that fill out the technique library. I
mean, my last whip is just, you've already seen it, it's my sock. So this is the basic sock by Summerlee that I knit a pair of these while I was away, and I immediately cast on a new pair because I like having a sock on the needles. at all times, and I just really love the colour. These are going to be beautiful. That's my only other whip.
And then very quickly, I didn't even bother to bring it in here because it's really hard to show a brown triangle, or lots of brown triangles.
Yeah.
I still have Redford knit up but not seamed, so I mentioned that and showed that.
So frog it or finish it?
Finish it. I just have to seam it. Again, I just have to be in the mood for seaming, so that will probably happen over maybe the next couple of weeks. I'll put it in as a finished object.
And I'll keep nagging until it's done.
Yeah, probably. But then my final whip, and the thing that I cast on last night, having just finished the Briodag glove.
Got one more whip.
Oh, yeah, no, okay. So I'll just show...
You've got a lot of whips.
Okay, yeah. So this is what I'm knitting at the moment. I started the she shader for Bebe. So I'm on to about like row 5 at the moment.
Oh.
But...
Pretty.
So there's not too much to see yet. I've shown
You've got a swatch though.
Oh yeah, I did do the swatch. So this is a half a swatch. I came out exactly on gauge, which is the needle and the yarn recommended by the pattern. So, so yeah, just a little swatch. It's got a nice texture zigzaggy pattern on it. I will block it, even though it's only a half a swatch, just to see if it does change in terms of size.
Yeah, because you just said. Learn the lesson.
Well, I did.
You already cast it on. It's too late.
It's only on row 5. It's not too late. So yeah, I will block it. And then if it grows a little, actually, that's probably not such a bad thing anyway, because I'm knitting between a couple of sizes. So that
yeah,
will
I
be fine.
decided I wanted less rather than more ease with it.
Yeah. And then my final whip is Svensson by Jared Flood. This is as far as I got. This comes in the what the heck was I thinking category. I guess, I don't know. I'm not going to... I look at it and I like it, and then I look at it and then I don't like it. So, yeah, I was just trying to see what it looked like on me, but I just don't like the colour. I think that's the thing. It's a colour I thought I liked until I knit it up and I saw the fabric.
It reads a little bit baby blanket.
It does, and maybe that's what I'm thinking when I see it. And I'm not a big fan of the horseshoe cables either, to be perfectly honest.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's just a personal thing.
It's very well knit. It's beautiful.
It is very nice, and the overall garment itself looks really great on the pattern, but I think maybe a different yarn choice and a different colour, and I would perhaps give it another go. So really, I think what we're up to at the moment...
Frog it or finish it.
Is this one, I think, would be what we would consider to be a frog.
Ooh.
So...
Ooh, it's being frogged.
So yeah, so this one...
Oh, that's going to get chaotic really fast.
Yeah.
The good thing is that we've got a grandchild on the way, and I'm thinking this would make a really good baby blanket. So I can definitely repurpose this yarn, so we'll need to rewash it, I think.
Yeah.
Because it's been on the needles for a while.
Yeah. So,
ooh, yay!
So Svensson's not going to make the cut in this form anyway.
Bye, Svensson.
Yeah. So
there's a lot of really nice cable knit jumpers out there to choose from.
Oh, that's what I was thinking. I'd much rather have the Arwen. And again...
Yeah. If you're going to put a lot of effort into something, make something you really want.
Yeah. So at the moment, that's...
You probably don't need to do it all right now.
Yeah, you probably
because I'm going to need to wash it.
So anyway...
ooh, new yarn for me.
Those were my whips. So...
Wow. All right. So, we're running kind of long, but I just wanted to wrap up by talking a little bit about future plans, because we do have a lot of whips to get through, but Stephen, let's face it, is not going to actually knit his whips, and I'm probably going to have mine finished. I would say I think I'll have the 2 jumpers finished by the next episode.
Yeah. I'll have something. I'll finish up Redford, I think, and then... Really, it'll just be progress on she shader, and I might cast on the eagle collar because I'm quite keen to start knitting some feathers.
Never thought you'd hear a man saying that.
Yeah.
And I'm going to start I was going to swatch for it today, but I really do want to finish the Traveller shell before I do anything else. So, but I'm going to cast on for this one.
I
the Vega Vest.
I can't wait till you finish that. It's
Why?
going to look really good. I love that. It's a great vest.
I have the yarn ready to go, so I've balled up one of the skeins already. So in these colours. So I found the yellow.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. And this is Outlaw yarn. This is a Rebel Light. So this is what we talk about a lot, this yarn. We have tons of it. And it's 80% merino, 20% New Zealand half-bred woolen spun yarn, and it's just really nice to knit with. We both really like it. It's what Rybeck and Beche were made of, and really good for that kind of Marie Wallin or any kind of Shetland colour work.
It's great for colour work. And once you've blocked it too, it kind of, while it's rustic, it has a softness about it. And it also doesn't pill. It's really good it wears really well. I mean, I wore the heck out of Rybeck while we were away, and it hasn't pilled at all. It's been really good.
Mine. Yeah. Yep. So I'm going to make that. So I'm going to start I have to finish the Traveller shell before I do anything else, including swatching. But as soon as that's finished, I'll be swatching for this. So I'm very excited about that, and I'll hopefully have, at the very least, a swatch to show you on the next episode.
Fantastic. So that brings us to the end of the list, I think.
Yeah, I think that's the end of our notes. We've managed to cram all of that into an hour. We did very well.
Yeah, I think the last part went a lot quicker than I thought it might.
Yeah, we've got a lot of whips. Well, some of us have a lot of whips. Some of us have just things that we've got to get finished. I think some of those will remain whips for a while.
I can guarantee they're going to remain whips for a while.
It'd be good to get the Redford finished, because
Redford's definitely
one that you would wear in the spring.
I think so. It's actually a really
lightweight.
I do want it, and I do want it finished. I'm a bit nervous as to how it's going to finish up. But anyway, we'll see. The proof will be in the completion. Oa is going to stay a whip for a long time. It's
really hard to get the motivation to finish something that's really thick wool when the weather's warming up.
Yeah.
You guys have the opposite problem. If you're in the northern hemisphere, you're in cozy season and wanting to knit all the nice warm cozy stuff. Well, we're the opposite of that now, where it's warming up.
And to be perfectly honest, I think the scarf I'm just going to cast off. I won't frog it. I'll just keep it as a swatch.
Oh, that's cute.
Because I do like the pattern on it, but to be perfectly honest, I don't like wearing scarves. I think I mentioned last time that I struggle to wrap. I don't wear shawls, and I struggle to wrap anything even rectangular around my neck. So I'm not a big fan of. Because
you get too warm.
I do get too warm, but I just don't like things up around my neck too much. That's why I don't like high collars so much. But yeah, it's just really not my thing. So
fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that about does us.
I think so.
So we'll see you in another 2 weeks, hopefully with some more finished objects. Well, no, we're not going to put any pressure on ourselves, but we'll...
I'm sure you'll have something finished.
Yeah, I'm sure I will too.
I definitely won't. Oh, actually, no, I'll have Redford. I think I'll have Redford.
Make a commitment.
I'll say it now.
Say it now.
I'll have Redford finished in 2 weeks.
What will you do if you haven't?
Finish Redford in 4 weeks.
Oh, yeah, okay. Wow, so much jeopardy there. If you don't get it finished, it will not be finished.
We'll see how we go.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time. Have a good time in the meantime, and we'll see you later.
Thank you for watching. We really appreciate it.
We do.
Goodbye.
Ka kite.